He's next door to going into Jerusalem, and he sends these two disciples of his. And he says, go into the village in front of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever sat. Untie it and bring it. And if anyone says, why are you doing this? Say, the Lord has need of it, and will send it back here immediately. What it's reminding us is as Christ is about to enter into Jerusalem, the holy city, he sends these two disciples out, and in sending them out, he demonstrates to them and to us that Christ has control over every detail. Why should we celebrate? Because we have relationship with a risen Savior who has authority and control over every detail of his disciples' life. If you are a disciple of Christ, you've given your life to Christ more than the acknowledgement of the raising of a hand, but you've given your life, your soul, your thought, your strength, your being. If all of you belongs to him, then he has the authority and control over every detail of your life. Let's look at this together. He says to the disciples, go into the village in front of you. That Christ knows where we are to go. He knows where our next step is, and he sends us where he'd have us to be. Much different from me getting in my car, getting behind the wheel, and going where I determine without consulting or relying on or deferring to the wisdom of a risen Savior who sends me. I'm not going to work. I'm being sent to do the work of the Lord. I'm not going to someone's house for dinner. I'm being sent to do the work of the Lord. And if we have that attitude, that mindset, that understanding, when we get where we're going, we know what reason we were sent there for. He says, I'm going to send you ahead of me into the next town, and this is where you need to go. Don't just go where you feel like going. Some of us might need to tear up some goal sheets and first bend our knee and say, God, what would you have me do? I'd like to make $1 million. I'd like to be famous. I'd like to have this job. I want to build this house. I want to go into this thing. But God, I tear that all up. I lay it to the side. Teach me, God, what you have for my life, because he has control over every detail. He has authority over all things. He is Christ, our risen Savior. Go into the village in front of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find a colt tied. Let's turn on the lights, please. Thank you. We'll find a colt tied. He says, go into the village in front of you, and immediately as you enter it. Secondly, he knows what's going to happen when you get there. When you get there, what you're going to find is a donkey, a colt that is tied up. Now, how would you know that? How would you know what's going to happen if the Lord didn't tell you? How do you know that there's a firestorm in front of you when you shut your door at your job, walk into that office? How do you know there's a firestorm in front of you unless the Lord has spoken it to you? How do you know what's next? How do you know what's going on? How do you know what to do and what to expect unless the Lord speaks it to you? He says, when you get to where I'm sending you, because I've sent you and you didn't go on your own, when you get there, this is what you need to know. There's going to be a donkey that's never been ridden before. And I need you to know that when you see that donkey, I need you to untie it. He gives specific detail. This is what we have available to us. And for many of us, we're going through life blind and not understanding and making mistakes and making decisions because everything is in us. Give your life to Christ. Allow Christ to be your risen Savior who will direct every detail of your life. He'll tell you when and where and how long and why. He'll answer all of your questions.